back to the Your Golden Elevation channel. Welcome to all of my golden souls, new and old as in old but goody. You've been here for a while. My name is Dr. Osa, and I'm so glad to be back on the channel. It's been a really busy and challenging and exciting time over here, and I'm just glad to be back today and to talk to you about 3 tips for embracing positive change in your life. So let me start off with a funny story. I always like to incorporate stories in my videos. So I live in a really quiet neighborhood. All of the homes are surrounded by at least a half acre, if not more than an acre of land. We have several acres on our property, and it's really sacred, God-given land that we cherish immensely. But about a year or a year and a half ago, someone maybe like 3 streets over or a few streets over got a new dog. I think you know where I'm going with this story. Every night, almost every night, you hear the dog outside just howling in discomfort and pain. And I felt sorry for the dog for about a couple of months after I heard the dog just howling from their soul, and I just felt so bad. But to be honest, after 2 months, I was like, that dog needs to be quiet now. And the dog kept howling and just like, woo! And I could just imagine it was just like he could be on a blues track, or she, whatever the gender of the dog is, could be on a blues track today. They could be signed. Just that's how sad the song was of that howl. And so I was getting discouraged because I'm like, who has this dog? Not only is the dog upset every night when it gets cold, or maybe the sun goes down, I don't know what it is. Maybe the dog was taken in from an owner and who couldn't take care of the dog anymore, and the dog is mourning the loss of its original companion. I really don't know what it was, but it got to me after a while. Not only the dog's emotion that was conveyed in the howling, but also my own irritation. I was like, this is never going to change. You know, I hear this dog every day, almost every day howling in night, and sometimes it does wake me up depending on how deep I'm sleeping. But it didn't get like bad to the point where I felt like it had to change now. Otherwise, I would have gotten in my car and drove around the neighborhood to figure out what dog it was. So it never got that bad, thankfully, but I thought this was one thing that would never change. So after about a few months, maybe this had been going on for like maybe even more than a few months, like 6 or 7 months. And recently it has changed, and I'll tell you how it changed. So a few nights I heard the dog. I've been doing some traveling, so I haven't been home quite as much, but the few months recently that I've been home over those nights, I heard the dog a few times doing their usual howl of sadness and sorrow. And then I heard another dog howl along with the dog, almost in unison and kind of a harmony. It was like approaching the 5 heartbeat status in terms of harmonies that those 2 dogs are reaching together with those howls. I won't imitate it because I'm already getting a little too silly with this video. But after about a brief howl, maybe 10 seconds together. So first the main dog that always howls would howl for maybe a minute. And then the second dog would join in and howl for maybe like 15, 20 seconds. And then the dog would like bark rapidly, like the second dog that joined in the howling, because I could tell like the difference in the tone of their bark. That's how much I listen into this. And after the barking subsided, both of the dogs stopped howling. So it was almost like the dog was like, ooh, I understand your pain, ooh. And then it was like, but it's time to be quiet. So after those barks, both of the dogs are quiet for the rest of the night. It goes on every few days now. Whenever the howling kind of gets out of control, maybe the dog is in the house next door or down the street. I can't really tell because they both sound about the same amount of loudness to me, but I think it's really hilarious. And I just want to say, the reason why I'm sharing this story, other than to give you a little bit of a laugh, is because a lot of times we have things in our lives that we feel like will never change. They'll take a Herculean effort, or it'll take years, and we might not even see the change in our lifetime. But there are so many changes that are waiting for us to embrace them. And when I'm speaking about change in this video, I'm talking about positive change. Things that can change your life for the better, that can change your family's experience for the better, that can change your career, your financial situation, whatever you're looking for change to take place in, and where you're looking for positive change to embrace. But oftentimes, of course, those situations that we faced in our past, or just ongoing challenges with change, makes us kind of, wary about change. Like, is this really going to be a good thing for me? How is it going to actually pan out? How is it going to unfold? What am I going to have to do? We have all of these questions. And in order to embrace change, we need to really figure out our state of heart, our state of mind, and our environment. So those are the three areas that I'll talk to you about today. The first one is our hearts. So we all have experienced heartbreaks. I think if people escaped unscathed from heartbreaks during their lifetimes, the pandemic surely made us all commoners in that respect. And by that, I mean that I believe all of us have probably lost some loved ones due to COVID. We lost opportunities. We lost our sense of peace. We lost so much, but we also gained a lot as well. And we need to also reflect on that. But to tell the truth about the situation, losing all of those things makes us wary about change. And just even before that, whether you experience heartbreak in a relationship or in your family or at work, or just in terms of disappointing yourself or feeling disappointed about how your life has gone, all of those things can lead to a hardened heart or a broken heart or just a heart that's closed off. And so it's really important to understand the state of our hearts. Our hearts enable us to dream. Our hearts are, in terms of the organ of the heart, it actually has more neural endings or neurons than your brain. So your heart knows so much more than your mind or your mental state can know. And to embrace your heart is really important to enable positive change to come in. I definitely recommend therapy. If there's some situations that have led to trauma or ongoing challenges that you can't seem to face or can't seem to overcome, I've had therapy, and therapy has helped me quite a bit, with anxiety and just with dealing with some of the things in the past that can, bring you down and can make you feel like you don't deserve, the positive changes that might be coming in, or you might just be triggered by change in general, whether it's positive or negative. You just know that you just want, a stable, expected environment. And so therapy can help us understand what are those underlying issues that lead to me feeling fearful or anxious about this new situation. What are the ways that I can address that through changing my behaviors and my thought patterns? And how can I create a sense of positive expectation instead of negative anticipation? So with your heart, you want to create a well of positive expectation instead of negative anticipation. And by that, I mean, don't think that, oh, this is going to be so horrible. Like sometimes we can have that about positive, that idea or that feeling about positive change. Or like, oh, this is going to be so hard, and we can create burdens that don't exist just by having these misplaced expectations that come from past traumas. I also want to talk about the state of mind. So our minds control and guide and create our realities in a lot of senses. We bring in thoughts from our past. We anticipate, like I said, those negative anticipations. Our minds can lock us into limiting beliefs that prevent our ascension because we're operating from our past. We're operating from a default setting, like if you have a computer and your default setting for certain applications like software programs is to start up. When you start your computer up, the default setting is to launch maybe your virus protector or launch this program or that program. We almost have a default setting where we get up every morning and we launch those default applications in our mind that create all of these limitations and barriers to these new positive things coming into our lives. So it's really important that we understand what those mental limitations are. How can we address them? And even if we only take one. So say you have a belief, and just to use one example, that all of the positive things that come into my life start off good, but then they end in sorrow and heartbreak. I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about the story of the dog that I just told you, and I was thinking about what limiting belief does that dog have, that keeps them howling every night. Are they afraid of the night? Are they afraid of being alone? Do they think they're always going to be alone? What are the limiting beliefs that's leading to that howl, that sorrow, that moaning and groaning that we do when positive change comes into our lives? And so we definitely need to interrogate that and to excavate it. If you think about a archaeological dig, like they dig deep, deep, deep until they find these relics of the past, these relics of this past, these fossils, all these things that are under the foundation that you're standing on. So it's really important to do that, to take time, even if it's 10 minutes a day, and say, I felt this way, when I talked to this person about getting this new job, or, I felt weird when I went to this new neighborhood and, shop for groceries. Why did I feel that way? What triggered me? What sort of interactions triggered me? What sort of experiences did I have? Or what thoughts were going through in my mind as I was in that situation? So definitely take time to understand yourself, to understand your thoughts and how they are shaping your inability to embrace the change that's coming into your life. And finally, last but not least, is your environment. Your environment is everything from your home, the clothes and the things you own that surround you in your home, all of your possessions. It includes where you live, where you work, where you travel, where you tend to spend most of your time. Your environment has a lot to do with the limitations around being able to embrace positive change, because your environment can stifle you. Like if you think about clutter, if you get something new in and there's nowhere to put it, it's sitting there. So are you really getting the full use out of it? Are you really able to maximize your full opportunities and the positive change that's coming into your life if you're surrounded by clutter that's controlling you in subtle ways? So that's one thing to, keep in mind. And as I end this video, I want to talk briefly about positive change being a gift. So sometimes we can bring in positive change, through deciding to, apply for a new job or move to a new city or start a new relationship with someone who is emotionally mature, or, whatever the situation might be. However, sometimes positive change catches us out of nowhere, and we have to be ready, for those things that we don't initiate. And I want to give an example of a positive change that I didn't initiate. So earlier this spring, we had an opportunity to go to Hawaii. This was it was our second time going, but we went just because we love Hawaii. I've been trying to get there for a long time, and I finally got there last year and then returned this year. And while we were there, was a series of unexpected events that led to us finding our dream home. And in the back of my mind, I even had a dream about a house there that we would eventually have, but didn't think it would happen until like 2 or 3 years from now. Honestly, we have a lot going on right now, and so I didn't expect it to happen. And so during that time, before we found the house, I was doing a lot of, prayer and just spiritual work, journaling, meditation. I was really in it. I was in it deep. And I was surprised that this unfoldment happened of finding this house, because I was like, If I had known that we were going to find this house, I would have did this, I would have done that, I wouldn't have done that, I might have done that, just kind of retracing my steps leading up to buying the house and thinking about all of the things that would have put me in a better position from my perspective. And so it was definitely limiting in some way, but I'm a planner, I'm a researcher, and so I always think about different scenarios and perspectives. And the message that I got from God was that I, wasn't supposed to know, or we weren't supposed to know, because it was a gift. And that blew me away, because I'm like, I've been praying and meditating. Why didn't I get a message about this house? But a gift, when you receive a gift, you don't know when you're going to get the gift. Even if it's your birthday, your birthday is coming up. You don't know what time your gift is going to be there. You don't know what the gift is. You don't know how it's going to fit into your life. You just receive the gift. And that really blew my mind, because I want to know as much as I can about my future. Like most of us, I think, I want to plan for it. I want to make sure that I can do all that I can to embrace it, and embracing it for me oftentimes means having a lot of knowledge about it. But with the gift, we have no knowledge of our gifts, unless people are poor gift givers in your life and they tell you everything that they're planning on getting you and things like that. But usually gifts are surprises. And so as we continue to work on our hearts, minds, and environments, we create a natural state of being able to welcome in these positive changes that are gifts, because we can have a goal of, like I said, a new job or a new car, new environment, etc. But if there are gifts, and I believe God has gifts for all of us, they have our names on them, whether we know them or not, know it or not. A lot of gifts have our names on them, and God and just your entire world is waiting for you to accept your gifts. So don't allow fear, doubt, and limitations related to your heart, mind, or environment block those gifts. You don't know what they might be. They may blow you away, like this house. This is our second home that we'll be having, and so I'm just overjoyed, but it did take a lot of growth to get here. So I don't want to say that it's easy or that it's going to be so smooth. There will be some rocky times where you will have to confront some limiting thoughts or some traumas. And that's why I recommend therapy. I recommend journaling. I recommend using whatever tools that you can use, to fulfill your purpose, to make sure that these things aren't blocking you from doing so. So with that being said, I just want to thank you for the time you spent with me in this video conversation. I would love to hear in the comments, what are some ways that you plan to what are some ways that you plan to embrace positive change? What are some things that you're going to do differently? What are some things that you do now to embrace change? One thing I've started to do more is to celebrate change, even if it's difficult. Even if it's like, woo, how am I going to do that? I got that. Wow. Celebrate the ascension that's happening and celebrate the wonderful work that you've done to get to this space to attract and also maintain the positive things that you've attracted into your life. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I look forward to celebrating your wins with you. In the meantime, stay golden, stay elevated, and I'll see you in the next one.